In this lesson, we're going to cover the fundamentals of framing, panning, tilting, and zooming. We need common language to be able to work together. The most frequent inputs a director is going to give a camera op will be about their subject and framing. First, subject. What to get. 3, get the guitar. 4, give me a full wide. 2, vocals, push. 1, stay with the lead. And second, how to frame it. 1, put her on the left. 2, center up. 3, watch your headroom. During fast-paced sections, directing is usually broad. Time simply doesn't allow for anything more than general input, and there's a lot of freedom for camera operators. But during dialogue, sermons, announcements, panels, baptisms, basically any time there's an opportunity to give more detailed input on how to make shots work together, an effective team should be giving and receiving as much direction as possible. This isn't to micromanage or undermine a creative decision of a camera operator. Quite the opposite. Good directing helps everyone along to execute a shared vision. Directors need to trust their camera operators to give them great shots, and operators need to trust that directors have the big picture and all the other sources in mind, which may involve some coaching of their shots throughout the program. And this is where things can fall apart. A lot of times people will try to give direction about framing that doesn't make any sense, like pan down, pan in, pan out a bit. None of that's possible. Let's go over some basic camera operation language to make sure that everyone knows what is being asked of them. Panning is side to side, left to right. Tilting is up and down. And zooming is in or out, a push or a pull from wide to telephoto. A tight shot is head and shoulders. A medium is waist up. A cowboy or American framing is from the guns up. If you have a preacher at a pulpit or a speaker at a lectern, this is usually the framing that you'll end up with. Knees up is from the knees up. This can feel like an odd framing if it's left as a static shot, but can be a great starting point for a shot that creeps in to a waist or medium shot. A full shot is head to toe. I like to say head to toe instead of full because the word full is used in multiple places while directing, like, hey, go full wide, or push in full tight. And I want to be as clear as possible, so I generally say head to toe when I need it. A wide shot is wider than a head to toe. It depends on the context of the room, the staging, but generally leaves enough room for someone to take a step or two side to side without needing to reframe the camera. And a full wide shows more of the context of the room than the individual. Usually this is near the end of the lens. It's a great bail shot to have framed up if something goes wrong, or if you need to cut away for a big scenic moment with lighting or effects. The most basic rule of framing is the rule of thirds. Imagine overlaying a tic-tac-toe board on your screen. Many cameras actually support this grid feature because it's so foundational to good camera work. Once you have the grid, frame the subject on or near one of the intersections of the lines. This rule can be followed regardless of the focal length of the shot. Wides, tights, mediums, it doesn't matter. Framing according to the rule of thirds feels good. It feels natural. Framing to the middle, at least vertically, feels wrong and amateurish. If the subject is straight on, direct to camera, the face should remain at the top third line, even if they're centered from left to right. Panning is left to right. If a director tells you to pan left, she wants to see what is to the left of the frame. Pan left means move the end of the lens to the left. It also means that you're pushing your hands to the right if you're on a tripod. The framing overall moves to the left when you pan left, but everything in the frame moves to the right. Alternatively, if a director asks for something to be framed on the left or right, they want the subject on the left or right of the frame that you're looking at. Framing left means panning right to keep the subject on the left. This can be confusing, so if there's time, even though it's really basic, I like to talk to directors beforehand and know how they generally speak about framing up shots. And if I'm directing, this is one of the things I'll cover in my camera meetings. If I want the subject on the right so that there's room on the left, I'll simply say, put her on the right, instead of saying pan left. That seems to be more intuitive, especially in music. If it's a teaching segment or I'm giving smaller corrections, I'm more likely to speak in terms of panning than framing. The same goes for tilting. Tilt up means the end of the lens moves up. Everything in the frame moves down when you tilt up. Tilt down means the lens goes down and the subject goes up. Another common way to talk about tilting, especially with dialogue, is to talk about headroom. How much room is above the head of the subject? Giving a little less headroom means tilt down just a little bit. Watch your headroom means tilt up a little bit and make a little more space, or at least be ready for upward movement in the frame if it happens. While panning, as the speaker walks back and forth, cameras tend to work their way up or down over time. A good operator maintains proper tilt and headroom while panning back and forth, but it's really common tendency for a tilt to work in there as someone is walking left to right. So it's good for directors and operators to be aware of it and make small corrections over time so that they don't have issues with headroom. Finally, zooming. Zooming is a poor man's dolly. It makes the image bigger without moving the camera any closer to the subject. A push is a zoom in, and a pull is a zoom out. Zooms should be smooth, having consistent speed, and reframe throughout the shot. They should also start and stop smoothly. For example, if starting at 70mm gives a nice waist up shot, and 200mm gives a tight follow, the framing at the end will have to be tilted up higher than the framing at the beginning to maintain proper headroom throughout the shot. You don't want to start zooming in to a middle frame shot and not tilt up. Similarly, you'll want to tilt down as you zoom out to maintain proper headroom on a pull. Zooming without adjusting for tilt usually just kind of feels weird. Figuring out the correct amount of tilt and zoom to keep proper headroom can take a little practice, but it's a fundamental skill requiring practicing until it becomes second nature. If you have downtime during a rehearsal, or just want an exercise to train volunteers, pick a mic stand on stage and practice zooming in and out with proper headroom until it becomes automatic. In review, panning is left to right, side to side, tilting is up and down, and zooming is from wide to telephoto. Now you know the fundamentals of framing so that you can work together on any crew in a live production.